Evolving awareness. The power to change emotions. What is evolving awareness? Evolving awareness describes a monumental shift in human consciousness. It is what is happening to our species as we become more informed and conscious beings. There are three main factors indicative of this change: the use of the visual mind, understanding attraction, and the freedom from situational awareness that mindfulness allows. Something ancient is stirring inside us, and we're beginning to sense the age of our being consciously. When we become fully conscious of this, we will be free from all that causes suffering, hierarchical positions, and the need for others' approval to feel a sense of belonging. But we have entered a phase that represents the peak of our maladaptive emotional responses. Our species is emotionally diseased because we are still drawing conclusions from an outdated conditioning and misuse our ability to respond to its highest effect. Allow me to further explain. By an improved self-awareness, the possibility is now greater than ever to become the masters of our fate and live in an expanded emotional landscape. The more conscious we become, the more we are able to feel as we choose. And our feelings, or our state of mind, is the master of the conditions we are in and the seemingly random events that we experience. The goal of becoming human has remained unchanged since our beginnings: to become more conscious of the unconscious mind, or to become more subconscious creatures, knowing the relationship between our vibration and what we seemingly attract. In becoming more conscious, we become the manipulators of our conditions. For that is what has also arisen out of this awakening consciousness, is the understanding that our surroundings reflect an inner emotional state. We don't see, we project. Everything is seen relative to how we feel. By an improved sensitivity to emotions, human beings are becoming the masters of their fate. Where we were once the slave of our environment, we dealt with whatever the jungle delivered. Now, that jungle is within. We recognize we are the creators of our surroundings. Because of an understanding of how our emotions shape our environment, we are better able to manipulate our circumstance. Reality has become our clay. The deep well of emotions available to us lay not in outer conditions, but in what we are connected to in the unconscious of our minds. By our birthright, we have an ability to respond and create the world we live in. Of all the knowledge that this information age has brought us, a greater self-knowing is the treasure. The realization of consciousness to be the universal cure. In responding more consciously, we change the very nature of the conditions we are in. This is a phenomena of responsibility, that we alone are responsible for how we feel, and that our feelings taint our perception of the world that surrounds us. We don't live on a planet Earth. We live in our state of mind. When we change our emotional state, we change the very fabric of the world around us. We can change situations by changing our response. For what we want as humans is not the physical conditions themselves, but the state we assume the conditions will bring. Our saviour is not a person, but being in the conditions that would save. In creating our desired state, we are using the greatest power available to us to manifest desired conditions. State of mind is the cause and conditions the effect. Up until now, emotions have been used to maintain equilibrium. Emotions sustain themselves via our perception of the environment. Emotions filter the sensory input. Our conditioning or vibration is our beliefs. They're established in the earliest years of our life as a means to interpret the outer world and keep us safe from harmful situations. But from that point on, our vibration unconsciously presents the world as we know it. We do not look upon an endless ocean of possibility, but look only for that which confirms expectation. Our emotional state perpetuates itself by the evidence it finds in our surroundings. This is an unconscious process. We are not aware that the evidence is a setup. That circumstance is a carbon copy of expectation. Our model for interpreting the world is working perfectly because it has been made by us. Although this insight into how our emotions build our reality is becoming more common, it is by no means new. This is an ancient wisdom that has been passed throughout time. The rising human consciousness has only meant that this wisdom has become more commonly known and better understood. It is the satisfying of the eternal and rapidly increasing human thirst for self-knowing. This process of the replication of our emotions via our environment is what has been dubbed the law of attraction by the New Thought movement. But better stated, it is a law of emotional attraction. And the law of karma is the same. Karma is not a law of action, but a law of energy, of how our surroundings reflect an inner emotional state. A state that was designed to keep us safe and on a habitual emotional holding pattern. Now, with an improved awareness of our ability to consciously drive feelings and feel as we choose, we are the drivers of our conditions. So what is it that makes us feel? The pictures we hold in mind. Some will say our thoughts, but they are really only a means of describing the pictures. The deep mind thinks in images and has done since long before we had words. It is the scenes we replay in our minds that drive our emotional state. If we are not consciously driving our vision for the future, it defaults to being a replica of our past, based in memory and unconscious expectation. Common to every form of personal development and manifestation type work is the practice of visualization. If you want anything specific to show up in your life, you must first be able to see it in your mind. Intention is the prerequisite of any success. We have sadly become so obsessed with the material world that we discard the realm of thought, feeling and visualization as being some ineffectual dreamland. Something that is fun to do but of no real consequence in the physical world. But the realm of mind is the birthplace of all that enters the material. A realm of solidity and power that precedes all that materializes in the physical. The human disease is purely emotional. It comes from operating with an outdated conditioning. We often feel persecuted only because of a flawed reasoning and a bias of response options. Our hypersensitivity to taking offence is something of an evolutionary tale. We don't need it anymore. We fall into emotional turmoil because of the childish conclusions we still carry, and descend into blaming, victimhood, and taking things altogether the wrong way, the opposite way of the peace that is everyone's target. We don't understand that where we want to be is not a place but a state of mind, and the causational nature of that state. The dissemination of our society has occurred because we don't understand the creative nature of emotion and see them more as an unwanted obstacle than the very fuel that can transport us to exactly where we want to be. Where we want to be is not a place of physical conditions, but a state of mind. We are evolving to realise that we create our conditions through our state of mind. Our conditions do not force us to feel. Our feelings are produced within. We have for a long time let the outside tell us who we are, what we should do, and how we should feel. We have given away our power. Our system is imploding because we have agreed to the limitations our environment signals to us via the emotions. We don't recognise emotional patterns to be precisely what keeps our conditioning in place. We still hold beliefs that were formed in childhood as a means of interpreting the world. Our feelings come from within, from the guiding vision in our minds of who we want to become, not from the external world. We are what we are becoming. Any emotions of suffering, annoyance, or disappointment stem from a lack of self-love, a lack of self-awareness. Our birthright is to know ourselves as that very source of love. We have allowed circumstance to break our connection to Source. It is an agreement that because of what other people have said, done, or are doing, I should love myself a little less. And trust me, your torturers are not feeling any love from their environment either, because that's not where it comes from. In the coming weeks, I will release a series of 4 more videos that will further expand on these explanations of the power of visualization, the law of emotional attraction, how mindfulness bypasses the conditioned sensory filter, and finally a hypothesis on the type of beings we are becoming and where this process may lead us. For if state of mind is the master of conditions, and it can be realised the moment we have clarity, our world could be on the cusp of an almost instantaneous emotional healing. As human awareness grows towards the critical mass of higher consciousness, dream states will become more instantly realised. The process of becoming more conscious is about meditation, visualization, and mindfulness, but also about becoming more sensitive to how we feel, to what emotions are signalling us of. Because unless we are sensitive, emotions can easily become misconstrued. We don't feel as we please. This becomes reflected in the environment, and the downward spiral perpetuates itself. The path is to always be pondering, how am I feeling or responding? Leading into, how well can I imagine feeling? How good would it feel to... You insert the blanks. For all intents and purpose, change that has always been promised humans has already occurred. We just lack the presence of mind to sense it. We are still so obsessed with the material world that we do not acknowledge the beauty that exists in stillness. The mad monkey mind has taken over our culture, and we search everywhere in the world to satisfy a thirst that can only be sensed. It cannot be bought, achieved, or won. In summation, we have been welcomed via the information age to the pinnacle of human awareness. What that means is that we now operate with a more advanced emotional paradigm. We create our vibration and the conditions we live in. Events drawn to us are not by chance, but intricately woven into our ambitions. This is law. We possess an ability to feel independently from our apparent conditions, because of a new awareness that emotions are generated in the visual mind, not our surroundings. Conditions are evidence only of conditioning. Our surroundings are a reflection of an inner state, a state that can be consciously driven. This is the evolution of human awareness, that we have the ability to simply feel better, and in doing so, change our destiny.